So everyone, thank you so much. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. We have attendees from literally all over the world to come and uh, learn with us. So thank you so much. This is our July webinar. We're putting this on every single month, and today we're here with Ellen, and we're going to be talking about Microsoft project tips and tricks. So just some housekeeping. So we are going to keep everyone muted. If you do have any questions, please go ahead and type them into the chat box. I am going to be collecting all the questions, and we're going to answer them at the end of the presentation. Along with that, a number of you have asked specific questions, and we're going to be addressing them periodically throughout the presentation. So thank you again, and let's go ahead and kick this off. Just a little bit about a trusted IT group. Ellen, if you can just go back one slide. So I'm not going to spend a lot of on this slide over there. If you can just go forward one. So just a little bit about us. We are a Microsoft Gold PPM partner, and we partner with MVPs to provide a lot of value. So I want to kick this off to Ellen, and she can explain a little bit about herself and what it is that we're going to be covering today. Thanks so much.
Well, hello. My name is Ellen Leonard. I'm a Microsoft Project MVP, and I have been one for 5 years. I'm also a PMP. For those of you who don't know me, I've written several books. I'm one of the developers for the certification test for Project, and I've been teaching Project for many, many years. I'm a trainer, a consultant, SME for Project. And, I'm also a frequent meeting speaker for Microsoft as well as PMI and the user group MPUG. What we're going to be covering today is I want to talk to you about the ribbon bar, and I have developed a customized ribbon bar that I'd like to send to you, and I'll give you more on that in just a minute. I want to cover some useful options, some tips about the Gantt chart. We're going to be creating customized tables and views, and the quickest and easiest way of doing that. This is a very frequently asked question: what is occurring next week in a project, and then how can I see what is occurring next week in a project, or essentially across multiple projects? Most of us are managing more than one project, and it'd be nice to get all that in one place. Another frequently asked question is, I have drop dead dates. How do I actually plan my project so I can know about the drop dead dates and I can plan on hitting them? There were a few questions from people asked in advance, and I'd like to go ahead and address those. And then, as Dan mentioned, we're going to go ahead and do some open questions. So before I start, I would just like to show you one more slide, and that is, at the conclusion of this presentation, if you send me or Dan with Trust Group an email, we're going to send you a customized ribbon bar that has the most frequently used buttons on it, and we'll also have the quick access bar, and this will help you manipulate and just navigate within Microsoft Project a lot easier. This will work on the project versions 10, 13, and 16. I also have people using it with Project Server and the Project Online, so it works with everything. There's also a page of how to install the ribbon bar. I will be doing that, but you would get these instructions. And then one other thing I really like to do during my presentations is let you know that at the end of the presentation, if you send us an email, you're going to be getting all the tips and tricks documented, written out, so you don't have to be taking really hard notes while you're doing the. You can just watch the presentation and try to get the concepts and decide what will work for you and what won't. And as I mentioned, I will be sending all the keystrokes to you later. With that in mind, I'm going to escape out of the presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and go into project itself. Now, what I'd like to do is start up here with that ribbon bar that I mentioned. Let me get rid of that. This ribbon bar, this is the standard one. I want you to see I've got something called frequently used buttons here. And what this is the buttons that I have noticed that all my students and my users, all my clients use the most. There are many buttons that you will use on screens no matter where you're at. Sometimes it can take up to 4 or 5 clicks to get to some of these buttons. Microsoft has a standard of no button will be on any ribbon bar more than once. For example, scroll to task is one of the most frequently used buttons, but you will only find it on the task ribbon bar. You will not find it on any of the other ones, and that is something you can use no matter where you're at. The other thing I want to talk to you about is this quick launch bar. Some of you might be aware that when you originally get your software, the ribbon bar is set to be above, the quick access bar is set to be above the ribbon bar up here. What you are not aware of is you're limited to about 12, and in fact, back in Project 10, you could only have 10 buttons up there across that top. But if you go ahead, and I'm getting this presenting thing showing up, it's making me a little crazy. Give me a second, I got to bring this down to do this. Okay. Let me try it one more time. Ooh, geez, just a second. Let's try this. Okay. So the ribbon bar itself gets stuck. You're limited to how many buttons you can actually see up there. If I pull this down and pull this down, we get an option to show below the ribbon. As soon as we show it below the ribbon, we have the ability of putting about 30 buttons up here. So you can do as many as you want, which is really pretty nice. So let me show you how you would go ahead and install this. And as I mentioned, send us an email. We'll send you the installation instructions and the toolbar itself. So I'd go to File. I would go to Options. I'm going to go to Customize Ribbon. I go down to the lower right corner where it says Import Export. I pull that down. I go to Import Customize Ribbon, and then I have to find the file. So the file, let me go back one here. The file itself will be called Project Customization Exported UI. I would just hit open on that. It's asking me would I like to replace what I have right now. I'm going to say yes. And there it is. It's been added. And I can come in if I want to and go to rename, and I could call this frequently buttons or anything else you would like to call it. I'm going to go ahead and say OK, and there it is. It's up there. So that is what I just imported along with this bar down here, the quick access. So let's say I've got a duplicate button here that I don't want. I can just right click and remove it. So it's very simple to customize it over and above that on your own. Just to note some of the more frequently used buttons that I like to put on this access bar would be the scroll to task, print preview, outline is a great thing. You will use this everywhere, and you don't have to keep going view outline. You can have it right here. Clear filter. These two buttons of clear filter and clear group you will not find on any toolbar or ribbon bar anywhere, and I think they're the two most useful buttons. You can have a group and a filter applied, and when you're done with it, you just hear hit clear filter, clear group, I can't talk today, and this will remove them for you. I kind of like to have open here. If you're on project server, you might want to have publish to the server, and you can also have publish as a PDF. So a couple of options that I think are very, very useful is I'm going to come into File, Options, and one option I really like is the default out of the box is to have Gantt chart with timeline. If you're not using the timeline view, and you probably don't on a daily basis, you don't need it. So what I like to do is just switch that back to Gantt chart, and there you are. You're going to gain a little bit more real estate on your screen. Now remember, these are general options, so they apply to how you're running the software on your system, and will stay set for you, as long as you're working, you have Microsoft Project installed on the system. Many people ask me about how do I set the date format for all my tables, and here it is. And you can switch around. Just keep in mind that when you set the date format here, it sets the standard that says every time I see a date, no matter what kind of date it is, this is going to be the format I'd like to see it in. Another frequently asked question is, I want to pull this down just a minute, just a little bit. See this line here? Everybody likes this line in Excel. You click on a cell, you can look up here, you'd see the formula. You can get this in Project. It helps you with editing cells. This is known as the entry bar. So I recommend that you go ahead and turn that on and leave it on all the time. So I think that would be another really, really helpful item to keep on. I'm going to go ahead and close this. Couple more things people are usually not too aware of. I'm going to go down to the bottom, and I'm going to right click, and you have the ability to access many of your options right from here. So this is really nice. You can go ahead, and have my system set that I go with auto schedule all the time, but this is where you could flip back and forth. You can customize the line down here. Maybe you don't want the quick buttons or the slider or any of that kind of thing. So you can customize it here. Something that experienced users are really not aware of that happened starting in Project 2010 is when they added this slider at the bottom, and I can increase or decrease my screen density, it actually changed some settings that don't go back to normal. I believe your best bet is to go, and I'm on my frequently used buttons, to your time scale area, and this is where you should get into a habit of changing the screen density. Now I want to show you why I prefer to do it there than down at the bottom. If I point to this time scale and double click, what happens is the size alters and never resets back to 100. So many times you end up getting less data shown on the screen, and this will also affect what it will look like on your prints. Some of you might be wondering, or if you've been doing this quite a bit down here, it does permanently change that percentage, and you have to go ahead and reset it back. You see how it's back up to 134, and it's not going to change. I've asked Microsoft about fixing this, and they tell me it's a system feature. So they're not going to be changing it, but we need to be aware that once in a while you need to go ahead and set it back. Something that I have seen a lot in my classes that people have asked about is they want to put some notations right on the Gantt chart itself. I'm going to click on Format. I'm going to click on Drawing. And, let's say I'm going to take an arrow, and I'm going to point to this. And then I'm going to go ahead and maybe create a text box. And I can say this is going well. And I can make this different colors and things like that. This will print. If I go into print preview, you would actually see this print. But what you have the ability to do, which is really a nice feature, is if I go ahead on the format bar and I click on layout, I can turn off those drawings anytime I want. Now when I print it, they're hidden, and when I want them back, I just come back in here and voila, they're right there. So it's really a pretty nice feature. This has been actually around in the software for many, many years. I think it's maybe something a lot of people don't know about. Something else that most of my students really like is when I show them that here we have a whole bunch of relationship lines. They can get very confusing. I now have to do a presentation for somebody. You can go back to that layout and you can actually turn off those. You can create your PowerPoint, you can filter, sort, whatever you want to do, and when you're ready, you can come back and turn them right back on again. And so I think this is a way that you can take a confusing Gantt chart and clean it up to use for a presentation and then get it back to how you need to use it on a regular basis. One other frequently asked question that I get, and I would like to just insert the column of notes. And some of you might not be aware that when you insert a column, you can move them horizontally. It used to be in the good old days we couldn't do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just put something in here. There you go. Oops. Okay, we got something in there. All right, and I'm going to space this out a little bit. What I want you to see is this is not word wrapping the way you're used to it in Excel. If you create any customized text column, you might very well want to word wrap that, and you have a limit of 256 characters, but still I would like to word wrap that. Out of the box, the only column that is actually word wrapped is your task name. But what I wanted to show you was how to go ahead and actually word wrap a column. They hide it. I've tried to put the button up here to do that, and I find the button doesn't exactly work very well, but you can do it. So I'm going to right click to get my choice of more tables. I'll go to more tables. I'm going to note that I'm on the entry table. I'm on the entry. I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to find my notes column, and when I look at the final column out here, text wrapping, and you can see that it says no. So if I come in and change it to yes, and I say OK, and I hit apply, let's see if I just move this, there it is. And now that column is wrapped. And I do believe this could probably answer some questions that some people have, because it's not an option that's easy to find. Two more things that I think will make this a lot user-friendly in the software, and you can use this with Project Server or Project Online as well, is Microsoft has its standard views, but you might want to create your own. So let's say I'm going to take this entry table, and I want to go ahead and copy it and then make, just change it for what I want it to be. So what you do is you go to View, and then you go to Tables, and you go Save Tables as a new table. I need you to know this is the only place you can find this option. So I'm going to save it as a new table. Maybe I'm going to call this Ellen's table, and I will say OK. And now, can you see that I am actually on, oops, come on, where is it? I'm actually on Ellen's table. So what I did, I'm going to insert like maybe work or something over here, but here's the entry table. I can put this back to normal, and I can leave this one alone, or if you're on Project Server, this is the way it's going to come down from Project Server, Project Online. But when I want my own view, I can come over here, and here's with the work table and the notes column. You can do that not only with a table, but you can do it with a view as well. So if I had maybe changed the Gantt chart a little bit or something along that line, I'm going to go ahead and I'd go Task, Gantt chart, see where it says Save View. So now I'm going to call this one Ellen's Gantt. All right, and now can you see I actually have Ellen's Gantt. So not only do I have Ellen's table, but Ellen's table in the use or coupled with Ellen's Gantt chart. And this is the way that you can create these views very quickly and easily, and then you can keep them, you can use them in other projects. If you go ahead and there's a special option, and I'll show it to you, it's on the Advanced tab, automatically add new views, tables, filters, and groups to the global. Now this was added, I know 13 and 16 had it, I think 10 had it as well. But what you get then as a result of that, and I'll just say, okay, here I'm going to come back to the organizer, and when I look at views, can you see how Ellen's view has been added to the Gantt chart? If I go to the tables, here is Ellen's table, which is very important because what's going to happen is, you know, if I go ahead and try to open Ellen's Gantt, it's expecting to find Ellen's table. So I need to have both of those pieces. But now they've automatically been added to the global for me and makes it a lot easier for me to work with. One thing I want to talk about, I'm just going to get back to my regular view here. Let's go back. Here we go. One thing I wanted to talk about that I hear over and over again, particularly people who have used project on older levels and then upgraded to this level, one of the most important things we need to be aware of is that the work breakdown structure levels ties more to the reporting than I think I'd ever seen it in the older structures. Right now, when I go to level 1, can you see how I have level 0 and then this goes 1 through 11? What this record 0 is all about is this is known as the project summary task. Many people, when I look at their work breakdown structures, they've created this automatically, and then every one of these are in one more level. There's a problem with that. When you go ahead and go to your dashboard reports, like I'll go to the project overview, this is expecting level 1 of the work breakdown structure. And I don't know if you can see that right over here. If you have artificially created a fake or another level up here, it actually will skew your reports. So what you should be doing, I'm going to go to Format, and you see where it says Project Summary Task. It's the grand total for the project. It's pre-programmed to do this. You really need to be using this task. So you just turn this on. You can see how the level 0 shows up. And that will actually give you a lot more reporting. It is also extremely necessary if you start combining projects. It could actually sort of skew some things when you're combining projects. So I would very much like you to consider using the project summary task. whoops, I'm going to alt task. There you are. I want to show you the most frequently asked question in all of my classes. And to do that, I want to set up two things. Let's go to the resource sheet. And here, I don't have any groups. So just to make things easy, I'm going to say group A, and then a group B, and a group C. And I'm going to copy these down. No, it's not scaling like Excel. It is a copy. That's all you can do with it. But that tied actually to a field called resource group. And now I could actually see what groups these resources belong to. So using the auto filter, I can say, well, show me all my tasks that group A are involved in. So now I can go ahead and do that. I'm going to hit this button, which is clear the filter, and I'm right back where I started. Now for the most frequently asked question, and that is, what's going on next week? So I'm going to pull down on Start. This was able to be done starting at level 10 with Project. I'm going to go to Group, and I get to choose a time density, weeks. So if I do that, I have the ability now to say, and I'm going to go to level 1. Now that folds it all up, and my tasks, no matter how many tasks you have, or you've got a lot of tasks in parallel, this is just looking at tasks ready to be scheduled on start on a certain date or during a certain week. Now I can focus on just what's occurring starting next week or this week. Then if I want to, on top of that, I can say, but I'm only interested in tasks that, resource group A is involved in. Or you can say resource group A, but I really only care about management. So what I'm doing is adding a grouping and then adding multiple filters, and I can only add one group, but I can add multiple filters on top of it. You can create customized groups that give you up to 10 levels deep in grouping. So then the next question leads into, how can I do this across multiple projects? Well, I'm going to show you, but what I would like to do first is I'm just going to hit this button to clear the filter, clear the group, and I'm right back where I started. I have found that a lot of people are, they're afraid to do this, but I want you to know, the software is written to do it. You're not going to mess up your project. Your project will always be fine. All you need to do is clear the group, clear the filter. I get people, writing to ask me questions. Oh, my file's doing this or this or this. And I go, great, just clear the filter, clear the group, and oh, everything is back. This is great. So these will be two of your most important buttons right there. So now our next step would be, what if I had more than one project? And many of us create projects based off of templates. So here's the next thing I would do, and I'm going to open two more files. So I'm going to go to what I set up for here. We're going to open a project I've called Condor. And I'm going to go ahead and open another one called Hawk. Okay, so I have, and right now I really have 3 different files open, you can see this. But I want to combine Condor and Hawk. So what you do is you go to View, New Window. All I do is click on Condor. I'm going to hold down Shift and click on Hawk, and I'm going to say OK. And it's going to create a new file for me. Right now it's called Project 1. Then then what I can do is say, okay, across these multiple projects, what's starting next week? And I'll pull this down, and again, I'll go back to the weeks. But the problem is when you've created projects using templates, look at this, determine scope, determine scope. Sponsorship, sponsorship. I got the same name tasks. So what you will want to do is insert the column actually called project, and here's Condor, and here's Hawk. And so I can see not only what tasks are starting next week, but what project do they belong to. System restriction is to combine 99 projects. I don't recommend it because that's how many files you have to have open. I have people, though, 10, 20 projects. They're doing this on a regular basis, so they're able to see this kind of thing. Not only that, then they're saying, okay, what about the same, departments or resource names and things like that. Now, the resources are not combined, and you need to remember that. If I come back over here and go to the resource sheet, you see how I have resource 1 through 8 and then 1 through 8 again, even though the names are identical. So the resources will not combine. This is the structure of a master project with inserted projects. Okay, so I want to give you, I'm going to do this, and we're right back to where we started, and I'm in this other project. Let me go back to where I started. I want to give you a couple keystrokes. One of the keystrokes, like let's say I go ahead and apply something like a highlight filter. Show me all my critical tasks. My favorite keystroke is F3, which will clear any filter or any highlight. Now, I have tried this in Excel. I've tried it in Outlook. It doesn't clear a filter any other place other than in here, but it is really pretty cool. If I say, give me my milestone filter, here's my milestones. If I hit my F3 key, it's all back to normal. So if you're not sure if you have a filter applied or not, just hit F3. Another thing that is really pretty neat is you can say something like, I want to say using resource. So let's say I go, show me all my tasks that have management. If I hit Control F3, it brings this back again, and I can say, well, now I'm interested in my project manager. Control F3, oh, maybe now I'm interested in my trainers. So I think that's kind of a nice feature, and I'm now going to hit F3 and bring everything back. Something else I think is really very convenient that most people are not aware of, and that is that on the keyboard itself, if I hit the insert key, it really works. And guess what? So does the delete key. There you go. So if you need to insert a bunch of blank lines or several blank lines, you don't have to do it the way you do in Excel. Just hit your insert key a few times, or you can hit your delete key a few times. There you go. One more thing I want to talk about with editing. So I've clicked, let's say, on a field. Do you see how this entry, it's called the entry bar, will be helpful? Editing, you can do a few things. There is the click, and you can use this, or if you double click fast, you get task information. Believe it or not, there is the slow click, and that puts it into edit mode. Some people like to actually go ahead and click on the cell, and if they hit F2, that puts you into edit mode as well. So just a few ways to get into edit mode that might make it easy on you. Now, what I'd like to do is jump back to my PowerPoint for just a minute, and I want to talk about some of the questions that a few of you went ahead and asked when you signed up to watch this webinar. And Mr. Ellis asked about how do I print a calendar detailing time off for project resources. And just so you know, you can't. The calendar view itself comes from the task side of the database. What you're looking for is actually on, some of it comes out of the resource data, some of it might come out of the assignment data. So you're trying to pull, the view is actually crafted to only look at one part of the database. It's not crafted to look at everything. So that's why you can't get it all. And how do I print tasks in a calendar format for project resources? I'm sorry, you can't. So what I do suggest is you could try, you filter on that resource, and then you can print it. You can copy it, paste it into Excel, and go ahead and print it. But I'm really sorry, you're not going to get a calendar view for this. And how do I display only the active and ongoing tasks in a report? And that comes back to, let's get back into here. There's actually two ways I would suggest doing that. I'm going to hide both of these. I'm going to let's insert percent complete. So let's hypothetically say all these tasks are done. And this task maybe is 50% done. A couple ways you can do this. One of them is if I pull this down, all I have to do is click the 100% off, because tasks that are still active are not 100% complete. So all I have to do is turn the 100 off, and it shows me everything that is not 100% complete. Another way I can do this is I can go to the filter, and there's actually a filter for incomplete tasks. Whatever way you're more comfortable doing this, but I think you can get that answer either one of those methods. Now, there was another question from Wendy. And what Wendy, I just thought this was a great question because everybody runs into this. Wendy is saying that she has a task, and after she hits this task, it can have 4 subtasks that can all start at the same time. How does she really link this to make this work for her? So what I'm going to do is close up a couple of these projects I've got here. I'm going to leave that one open. Let's close this one, and I'm going to go ahead and close this one. And I want to open Wendy's project. Okay, so here's Wendy's project. Says I have 4 tasks all starting at the same time. What do I do? So I'll show you what my solution was on this. The first thing I did was I went to Format, and I turned on the project summary task. Then I said I'm going to need a successor for all these tasks. But I need one more thing. I need to have these tasks in a work breakdown structure grouping. So I'm going to insert, let's just call it design. Whoops, I'm in caps. Okay, and then I'm going to take these and I'm going to insert them. All right, now what I'm also going to do is put something else above it. So maybe I'm going to have the scope of the project, and I'm going to put a couple tasks there, and I need one more, like scope completed. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to insert them. I'm also going to take this and I'm going to turn it into a milestone. Now, why did I do this? Well, what happens is this is leading up to what Wendy needs to do. She needs to, maybe finalize, the statement of work. She needs to get the signed contract. All right. Once she's got that, her scope's completed and she's ready to go. But she can go ahead and do all these 4 things at the same time. So here's something that a lot of people don't know they can do. So I'm just going to show you. You can actually draw relationships, which I think is pretty cool. So I can do this 2 different ways. I can say when I hit scope complete, then I can start the t-shirt design. But at the same time, I can also start the mouse pad design. So I could draw from this milestone to this, and now they're both starting at the same time. Or I could come over here and I could say 7, start. I could say, 7, start, or even 8, start. Didn't matter. Doesn't matter. But I also need to say design completed. And this is actually the most important piece of this, because what Wendy is saying is, yes, we're going to finish the scope, then we're going to start these at the same time, but I want to know when all the designs are done. So then I have to use this as the successor to all of those. So I'm just going to come here and I'm going to put 6, 7, 8, 9. And there you are. And the reason I would do it this way is because if any of these take longer, it's going to push that ending milestone. And that is what we're looking for, is what is the longest of that grouping. What you also end up with, just in building this very simple structure like this, is I can now come in and I can apply the milestone filter, and I can get my high-level reports for management or for my client very easily. So Wendy, I want to thank you for the question. I think it was a great question, and it is something that a lot of people run into, and I think this could be, whoops, hit the wrong thing, guys. Just a second. There we go. It could be used by everybody. So that's why I thought it was such a great question. But this is the way you really need to build things. Okay? I'm noticing we got about 15 minutes left. I don't know, what do you think, Dan? Do you have any questions there? If not, I got a couple more things I can show people.
I collected 2 questions. Do you want to take them?
All right, let's give it a try.
So this one is from Bill Gates.
Hey, Bill.
Bill Gates
Remember when I met you years ago?
Bill Gates is in the building.
Yep.
So he asked if the project info changes, such as additional tasks, more details, etc., is added, do the drawings you attach adjust to the original task, such as an arrow, or do you have to adjust it when shown again?
Oh, on the drawings. Okay. So what's really cool about the drawings, and I'm going to come over here to format, and I'll go to drawing. Let's say something like, I don't know, maybe it's easier. I'll do a text box. So I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to say hello over here. I can right-click, and by the way, I'm not sure what I hit. Oh, I see what I did. I stuck this in here by accident. Let me get rid of this. Okay, there we go. So let me do this one more time. So I've got this. All right. After I'm clicking there, I'm doing that. Sorry, guys. But there is properties here, and I can go here, and this is where you can say that you want to attach this object to either the time scale or to a task at the beginning or the end of the task, and then, how big do you want this thing to be. But maybe I want to attach this to task 8 at the end and see how it'll do that. And then if your time scale or something moves, this will move along because it is actually attached to task 8. So it's kind of a cool thing. What I would recommend you do is play with it a little bit, but just go to the properties for it and click this size and position, and you'll see attach this to the task. Okay? What you said? I thought you said you had another one.
I do have another one.
Okay.
Okay, let me know how you can answer this one. And sorry if I mispronounce your name, but this is coming from Tanusri, who asks, Ellen, any thoughts on how to easily port MS Project schedules to Google Spreadsheets? It takes me 15 minutes to do the port every time. Any thoughts on how to script it? Unless you just want to give up on Google Spreadsheets.
Yeah, well, yeah, why are we using Google Spreadsheets? that might be the better question. That is, why do you want to use that? What are you trying to accomplish? Maybe that's what the problem is. Is this the company standard? Would Excel work better for you? I would look into that. I'll be honest, I've never tried to do it myself, so I'm sorry, I really can't answer it, but I think, Dan, you hit it on the nose. Why are you using Google Spreadsheets? So, there you go. So that you don't have any more, right? Or do you?
That's all that I collected from for the chat.
Okay. Okay. Then what I want to go to is, no matter what company I go to, this is one of the most frequently asked questions I've ever seen. So here we go, guys. I'm going to just open a brand new file. Everybody says, hey, we have hard deadlines. How do we go ahead and manage, create and manage a project with hard deadlines? And this is what I have come up with over the years, and I think it works really pretty well. So let's give it a try. I'm going to come in, and let's say we're going to plan a project, and you can plan projects from the start date or the finish date. But I've got a hard deadline, and maybe that deadline is, I'm just going to pick a date here. How about Halloween? So we have to have this done by Halloween. So we're setting that we're planning from the finish date. The first thing you're going to see is this time scale moves over to that finish date. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just put some tasks in here. All right? I'm going to make this one be a milestone, and I want you to see how it took the ending date. I'm going to take, and excuse me if this is sort of short, but I'm just sort of trying to whip it off here. So here we go. We have now got 3 sections of work. I'm going to make this one a milestone. I'm going to make this one a milestone. I'm going to put, maybe we've got 10 days on this and 10 days on this and 10 days on this. So this is very crude, but I hopefully it illustrates it. But what's happening is it's taking it from the ending date and backing it up. If I go ahead and double click and look at a task, it has planned these tasks as late as possible. What it has actually done is plan these tasks right up against deadline. This is an all-critical project right now. There is absolutely no way I can have my project perform anything other than what is exactly planned. So now I'm going to go ahead and create some links in here, the way that you would normally in building your project. Oops, I know, I didn't hit one. Okay, and now I'm going to say that when I hit this, I'd like to start this group, and you see how it's actually planning it going backwards. So I need to link from here to here. All right. Now I'm going to bring this in just a tad. So here we'll move this forward. So we know we have to finish by Halloween. These are our short-term deadlines. I'm going to go ahead and insert the column actually called deadline. And I'm going to mark these. This says October 4th. So I'm going to come in and say October 4th. So I know I have to finish that no later than October 4th or I'm in trouble. Now, this is very, very difficult to see, and I just want you to know it's because of the standard formatting. There's a little green arrow under there. What I'm going to do to make it a little bit easier to see is I'm going to come in here, and right here all I'm going to do is change this to be bright red, and hopefully this will be easier for people to see. Now I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to plug the deadline of the 18th of October. And I've got my drop dead on Halloween. There you go. Now, I know from looking at this project based on my deadlines, I have to start this no later than September, I don't know, probably 19th or 18th, something like that. But I want to start earlier, so I make sure that my tasks aren't going to be performed exactly as planned. I need to give myself some wiggle room, some slack in there. But the other part of this is when this is so up against deadline, you really can't manage this project very well because the end date will not go past Halloween. So my suggestion is, why not, now that I've got my deadlines marked, why not manage the project from the start date? So we flip it. I'm going to come back into here, and I'm going to say I want to now replan it from the start date. And I think that I want to make sure that I start this project on maybe August 15th. I'll click OK. I still have one more thing to fix, because all of these tasks are still saying as late as possible. So I'm going to select all my tasks. I'm going to hit this. I'm going to hit task information. And then I'm going to go to the Advanced tab, and I'm going to turn all the constraint types into as soon as possible. This gives me the ability to manage it from the front and be able to go ahead and have slack. I can have a real critical path, because before everything was critical. Somebody's trying to get a hold of me. Now you can see that as long as this milestone doesn't cross this arrow, I'm in good shape. I can go ahead and manage my project. Maybe this task is going to end up taking longer, which is still fine. I'm not in trouble till this milestone crosses that arrow. If something comes up and the milestone does cross the arrow, and I just hit the wrong thing, sorry about that, guys. Let me just try that one more time. There you go. Do you see how I get warning messages? Now, milestones are not part of the scheduling engine. They're, deadlines. They are markers on the project, the Gantt chart itself. But they're not like constraints that are going to move out to a certain point in time and stop. So this will allow the schedule to keep going, but it warns you when you blow your deadlines. So with this taking 50 days, I've already blown my deadline by a couple of weeks, but maybe I have enough time to go ahead and pick things up and be able to get the work done and actually move it back within scope. So This is all in this handout at the keystroke level of how to plan the project from the finish date. You mark all your deadlines, and by the way, you can mark milestones, but you can also mark regular tasks as well, and then replan it from the date you actually want to start, and you can go ahead now and be able to set a baseline and be able to manage your project to the finish date and know how much time you have left to get the work done. So I got about 5 more minutes, Dan, huh?
We have a question that just came in from Jim.
Okay.
He wants to know, do you ever use project buffers like critical chain PM buffers? And if so, do you also use feeding buffers?
Okay. I recommend to classes, I'd love to see them be able to put in buffers. For those of you who don't know what Jim is asking about, there's actually a buffer here, and this would be I'm just going to go ahead and link this, and this is maybe an extra 10 days worth of time that's been added to the project to go ahead and allow for contingency time. And technically the project manager owns the buffer. All right. The problem I see is when clients or many times management sees anything called a buffer, they pull it out. They say, you don't need that. You can get it done. Client always wants it sooner, whatever the case may be. So from this point of view, I have seen the most creative task names anybody's ever seen, because I believe they should be there, but getting management and client and stakeholders to allow them there is more where the problem is. So I agree with you, Jim. They should be there, but there has to be some agreement that, we're all agreeing we have to have these in. And it's people admitting that projects don't get performed as planned. And that's where the problem is. So, yep, there you go. Okay. Dan, you got anything else there?
Well, that's all the questions that we collected in the chat, but we had a lot of comments, everyone saying how much they enjoyed the presentation, Ellen.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear that. Project is a great product. I can just say that you'll never learn it all. You learn what you're going to be needing, but don't hesitate digging in and trying different things. Frankly, that's how I learned. I read up in the book. I tried everything I could think of under the sun, and you really learn a lot just trying things. The features in the software now are so much better than when I learned it years and years ago. You can't break it just by trying stuff. So that's what I want people to know. You need to try it, and you'll find a lot in here that can help you. Okay? One more thing I want to do is put this slide back up. Please write my email address down. I'll send you all these tips and tricks in a handout, all documented. I'll send you that customized ribbon bar, and I will go ahead and send you the instructions on how to install that ribbon bar as well. If you have any other, there were a few questions that came in that were more project online or project server orientated, and since this presentation was just the desktop itself, I had to skip those, so I'm sorry about that. But let us know, either Dan at Trusted IT Group or me. Let us know if there's anything we can do to help you with Microsoft Project Server, and hopefully this was helpful to you today, and thank you. I appreciate you attending and sharing your time with us.
Thanks so much, everyone, again. We really appreciate the the time that you're spending and the hour that you spend with us during the summer months. It's good to spend some time together. Just to let everyone know that next month we are going to be planning the webinar, and it is going to focus around Project Server, best practices when upgrading Project Server to the most current version. So keep an eye out for that email, and we look forward to seeing everyone. Take care.
Thank you.